Call this commission meeting workshop to order at this time. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Dominic, Johnson,
Present.
Williams, Lynn,
Present.
Bowman, Baker, Lynch, Escadade, Thibodeau, Cox, Smith, Epperson. We have a quorum, Mr. Vice President.
We'll have Commissioner Lynch if you'll do the prayer, and Commissioner Epperson if you'll do the pledge of allegiance. I appreciate it.
Let's all stand and bow our heads, please. Father God, we come to you in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, God. Thank you for this day. Thank you for traveling mercies, God. Thank you for the blessings that you have bestowed upon us, upon this parish, upon the United States of America. We pray that you will continue to look down upon us, give us the wisdom to lead the people of Caddo Parish and of this great state. Give traveling mercies to our President, Commissioner Baker, as she returns to the United States. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Raise the flag. The military and veterans render the hand of brow salute. All others, hand over heart, and repeat the pledge in unison. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Are there any agenda additions?
I see no agenda additions. Next, we move to citizen comments. Citizens who wish to address the commission must fill out a comment card and forward it to the president, myself, or the clerk of the commission. Comments by any citizens will be limited to 3 minutes. Next item, Your Honor. Good.
Oh, that's good.
I'm graduated.
We had that on tape.
We have no visitors. We'll move to reports, administration report.
Yeah, I'll serve that position for a few minutes, sir, if you don't mind. Good afternoon, commissioners. We have an update on I-49. It's been making significant progress. So we'd like to have Mr. Kent Rogers come forward and give us up to date where we are and how soon we can drive on it.
I'm already driving.
Pretty soon.
You'll have a packet.
If you're a little bit,
You can do I've driven it a few times, and I say I'm going to do a Foster Campbell. Here we go.
Okay.
I provide y'all a packet with, there's a few slides in there and whatnot, but I'll just kind of go over it quickly. Sometime the week of November the 18th, we're looking at a ribbon cutting along with DOTD and Federal Highways for the section basically from LA1 up to 71 around Gillum, Austin area. That will be open to all traffic at that time. Following that, somewhere in the May timeframe of next year, we'll open up the rest of it from 71 up north to the Arkansas line. Arkansas should be done with their section, that last 3.5, 4 mile section of their work, roughly in that same time frame. That's why they're going to wait to open the rest of it up till then. Because the connector traffic, just the smaller roads for the connector traffic, they didn't want to put all the traffic on the smaller roads. Segment J, which is the next to the last segment coming down to 220, went out for bid a few months back. It's under construction now. Section K, which is that last section up to the interchange with 220. First part of that's going to be lit middle of December for the dirt work and preliminary construction work. The second half of that, which would basically be for the interchange portion of that, should go out mid-January. Take about 2 years to get that done. Once that's completed, sometime in 2016, we'll have the entire thing. DOTD is going to do a big giant ribbon cutting and all that type of stuff at that point in time for a big opening all the way up from 220 to Texarkana at that point in time. So a couple of years from now, we'll be driving on the entire segment. The intercity section from 20 to 220, roughly about this time last year, we identified 4 build alternatives. We had a series of public meetings and public hearings on that. There was a lot of comments sent in to Federal Highways and DOTD and our U.S. delegation in concerning of that project. Because of that, we now have a fifth build alternative, which was previously identified as the no-build alternative, which was the inner loop and I-20 loop around the area. We'll be looking at that as a build alternative and bringing it up to the same standards as a new build alternative would be, which means, pretty much rebuilding a good chunk of the inner loop, having to do some major work to the 220 inner loop interchange, and then possibly some bridge work over Cross Lake. We're not sure about that yet. Along with that, we've been asked to do an economic impact analysis of each of those alternatives, and to do some full-blown. Typically what happens is once we identify a preferred alternative, we'll go in and do the noise studies, the archaeological studies, and a lot of the more detailed shovel dig type work on just the preferred alternative. But because of the complaints that were raised, we're going to have to do that, some of that work on all of the alternatives, including the loop around work. So it's quite a bit more work going to have to go into this project than we originally had hoped for or anticipated.
Okay, we have a few commissioners that want to talk or ask you some questions. Commissioner Lynch?
Yes, what is EIS? Let me make sure there's some of the acronyms on here.
EIS stands for Environmental Impacts Study. That's the environmental document that the National Environmental Protection Act requires you to do.
What is the NEPA?
NEPA, National Environmental Protection Act.
Let me ask you, and I'm kind of playing catch up on this. I thought there were really just two under consideration at one time. That was the inner city part, and then they were talking about coming through around Cross Lake.
Correct. The inner city portion, the original, there was a corridor that was roughly a mile wide corridor. We had narrowed that down to 4 roughly 250, 300 foot alignments. That way it would, be able to shift and move around and avoid various different pieces of property. You really only end up needing about that 200 to 300 foot for a build alternative.
Okay, so what are the 4 build alternatives now?
The four original build, there is a slide, this slide right here. They pretty much follow the Pete Harris Allen corridor.
That's with the red.
Take a left, those different colors, the orange, purple, blue, and green are the 300-foot corridors through
Okay,
there.
can you give me a name on that? Because that's, my map.
Would that be
So
called the
one
inner
would be
city?
inner
The
city.
easiest just to
Which
show
one
you.
is the green? I'm looking at it, but I don't know what that means.
Each of those different colors are different alignments through that area.
Okay, so the green is inner city?
All 4 of those would be considered
All
inner
4 of
city.
these are?
Those
Yes.
are turns.
And then
Coming through
the-
Allendale,
Correct.
Lakeside? Okay, that's what I
Correct.
wanted to be sure.
And then the 5th alternative is upgrading LA 3132, the inner loop, to state standards and tying
Where did
into.
that come from?
Most of that came from complaints raised through the Loop It group, and Kim Mitchell and Bill Weiner, and our congressional delegation received a large packet of letters, basically the same letter over and over and over, but with some concerns over that. That was forwarded on to Federal Highways, EPA, HUD, all the federal agencies, and they're the ones that requested that we look at the no-build alternative as a build and make it meet the exact same standards as building through.
Okay, so the part, and I know a lot of time has been put into the inner city connector. So the EIS was never done on that? I mean,
No, ma'am,
it's going back
we're in the process of
25
completing
years,
that.
right?
No, we have not completed any EIS on that portion yet. That's what we're working towards.
So what largely has been happening for the last 25 years? 20 years since the Margaret?
The original, that section from 220 from 20 to 220 was part of the original environmental document for I-49 from Lafayette up. It was pulled out, the terminology used when it was pulled out of that environmental document was because of funding. At that time, Jackson Heights was still there. There were several other things there. The terminology used was because of funding. We all know that, other reasons
So there
had
was
it withdrawn.
environmental done.
Yes, there was some preliminary environmental done.
Okay.
The way NEPA is worded is if you don't take any action within 3 years, they can require you to look at that again. And they get to determine how deep and how detailed you look at that again. It could be as easy, as simple
Did they do
as
that in
just
this case?
updating. Oh, yeah, basically in this case, it was start over.
Okay. All righty. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just commend you on all the work and the years and the time you spent to even get us thus far. You have kept us updated on the navigation of where I-49 route is going, and I just want to commend you on the work you've been doing. I see November 18, you have a ribbon cutting day. That's a great day because that's my birthday.
It's sometime that week, so hopefully it will be that day, and we can celebrate your birthday.
Watch out for roadkill on that day.
It's a great day.
Roadkill on I-49.
I got good insurance, I want you to know.
And my beneficiary.
But nevertheless, I receive a lot of calls on the different routes. And when would there be a community meeting regarding, because there have been so many changes. And you got people that own property, want to line up their property. You got a lot of stakeholders, and want to know, is it purple, is it yellow, is it red, the routes? And who and when, what decides that part of the connection?
We are hoping that probably the middle of next year, we can have a preferred alternative identified. And then once we have that preferred identified, then they can do some of the final environmental work and have a record decision, hopefully by the end of next year.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with ribbon cutting going on in Gillum and North part of Dominique, my colleague district, but I'd love, if I'm still living, is when you connect it, the inner city connection component. I hope it's not far-fetched, there is some vision down the road, maybe the next 10 or 15 years. I don't know when that's going to take place. But I'm glad to know that northern part probably going to get so much economic progress in the northern part, which they need a lot of help in that area. So I'm excited. If it's good for them, it's good for all of us, because bringing tax dollars, and if it benefit the north, it'll benefit us as well. So I'm very excited that we finally, over the year, we talked about this about 30 or 20 some years now, and now to see it come to some part of fruition, even in the northern, it's still good. And I would just like to see, hope I'm around when the inner city connection component comes as well. So, hey, keep up the good work.
So too.
I hope that I'm not too busy that I can come and cut part of the cake or the ribbon on the 18th.
I got your email.
Commissioner Johnson?
Ken, one question for you on segment K, the signs with the, say, future I-49 path.
Correct.
There's some on MLK. Are those still in the right location?
That's roughly the center line of where that'll be. They're give or take a little bit, but that's the general area where it'll be passing through.
I don't think there's any on 220.
No, well, there were some up
I
on
think they
220,
came
and they did, when they did
little
did some
crossover.
drainage work and whatnot on the shoulders and whatnot, over the last 6 months, when part of that was blocked off down there. That's roughly that area where those were, and they never put the signs back up.
Can we get those back? Because I get a lot of questions about where it's going to potentially intersect with 220.
We can see if they'll put them back up, but the likelihood is you'll actually see dirt turning and clearing and trees and brush getting cut up before they can put the signs back out.
Okay, and all of the property has been purchased for segment K?
I believe there's 2 parcels that they're still negotiating and working on. I think that's what I recall from the last I saw.
Thanks.
Ken, I got a couple of questions. Obviously, we'll get an invite to the ribbon cutting.
Yes.
And the second question is, I've asked you about this before, can you explain to me how those intersections are going to work? I have some concern about the traffic. For example, if you're coming north from Highway 1, let's just say Todd is coming into work with the traffic there at Highway 1 and 49. I know there's some proposed stop lights, stop signs, and things like that. How's that going to work? Are y'all sure there's not going to be a big traffic jam and things like that, or?
We're hoping there won't be. They'll have signals at where basically the ramp interchanges that come down. They'll be fully signalized there.
So if you're coming from north,
So if you're coming from,
you'll be able to, at some point, come on through the light. I mean, the people that are on the interstate trying to get down there are going to have to stop too, is that correct?
correct.
And the same thing where they'll be getting on and off at the, I guess, the Gillum area? Halston area?
Those won't be signaled, they'll just
Okay.
come down. Well, no, those will be signaled, correct, let me correct myself. Those will be signaled, because they are along 71.
I just, got some concerns about a lot of traffic coming in and out. You could have some bottlenecks there.
Yeah, those at 71 will be signalized. I guess you could look at, kind of like where the Burt Coons and I-49 are now. You come down and at the end of the ramp, there's a signal.
Obviously, this is growth. It's a good thing for our area, and,
Correct.
that's just, we'll have to deal with that. So appreciate all the good work you're doing. Commissioner Escaday?
The no-bill route, which involves the 220 loop, right?
Correct. It's now termed as the fifth alternative.
Fifth alternative. That is the cheapest, is it not?
We do not know, because the requirement that Federal Highways has placed is that it has to meet the same standards as building new through the area, which means there are portions of the inner loop, roughly most of that from, say, Mansfield over to 49, would have to be rebuilt.
Bill, how? Well, I mean, what's the specific problem? It's, 2 lanes wide and got nice medians.
Just the standards that were used at the time, it's not, the inner loop, most of the inner loop is not interstate standards. That's kind of a misconception. It's
so it's
freeway, expressway standards, but it is not interstate standards.
They're state standards rather than
They're
federal
federal
standards?
standards.
Pardon me?
The interstate standards are federal standards.
Okay, so the standards that the loop is a federal standard or a state standard or right under the federal elevator?
It's right under what would be classified as an interstate
And that's
standard.
based on what, amount of traffic, heavy usage? Is that what it's
No, the
for?
way it's built. The way it's built, the design standards that are used for the building of it.
Well, it seems to me then that the federal government either give us a pass and let us, complete the project with limited resources and what we have available, or they can fund an alternative that's more expensive. So I don't understand, what the difficulty is. I know the bridge has some maybe provisions for hazardous spills and some sort of other requirements that may have to be provided for, and that makes sense to me since it's going over the
Correct.
water supply.
Correct.
Just a mess. I was going to ask you about
The
interloop
biggest,
extension in
the
Florida,
biggest portion of
Lucas
that.
Road, but I don't want to aggravate you today. Anyway, just kidding.
The biggest part of the interloop alternative is the intersection, the interchange at 220 in the interloop. There's parts of that now that you have to slow down to 40 miles an hour to go around.
I appreciate
and to make
everything
that
you're doing.
interstate
Kent, I
quality.
may want to remind everybody, I don't know, I'm a little older, well, not really older than most of you. A couple of you are younger. Thibodeau's older. Smith. So I'm in that gap, but sure are. I remember as a child, being hauled to my grandmother's in Alexandria for holidays, and that was when you had to go through Natchitoches, all Highway 1. This was before the Natchitoches bypass, and we thought the bypass was a great thing because you didn't have to go through downtown. And I didn't start getting involved until politics until Edwin Everett ran the first time against Benny Johnson and Warren J. Poogie Motee.
Wow. More history lesson.
Oh no! Well, you gotta watch the Poog. But anyway, if y'all don't remember those debates, it's comical. You ought to look it up on the archives. But anyway, I remember going down, whatever, and occasionally seeing signs, future I-49 corridor from John McKithen was governor, and that's my earliest. I'm smaller, like 10 or 11 years old then. John McKithen's governor. I don't know how many years they had been up already, and then you went through 8 years of Edwin Everett's, and sign's still up. 4 years of Train, sign's still up. EWE back for 4, then Buddy Romer, and then EWE, and it got open sometime between EWE and Mike Foster. And if you look at all that together, that's almost 30 years just to get that one stretch. So I think that we've made significant progress, in getting it done. And I'm not sure that we could have all the money in the world and still takes the time to get it done, because the same people that seem to provide the money, the federal government, for these things, are the same ones that make the rules that slow us down. So it's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? But anyway, Kent, we appreciate all your work. Probably, I guess, from the time you started your career till you retire, you can just say, what do you do with your life? I-49. I-49. And Dodge questions about the loop out there at Fort Lucas. I'm just messing with you.
That's another day, another subject.
I don't want to hear. I'm just messing with him. I like him. It's not his fault.
Commissioner Johnson? I'm sorry. Commissioner Epperson?
Ken, I just wanted to thank you. Evidently, the people that are acquiring that right-of-way for I-49 are paying pretty good. I got 3 people that were dislocated from that area building substantial size homes in my district, so keep them coming. Yeah, keep them coming.
My district coming.
Yeah, that's right.
Smart people.
$300,000 houses coming.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson?
Ken, I just wanted to get clarification on something you said when you were talking to Commissioner Escudé. You mentioned that part of 220 would have to be upgraded when it's already in
the
loop.
fifth alternative is 220,
The 3132.
3132, and 220.
Right, I can understand the
The interchange right at 220 and 20 in the inner loop. If you're coming, I guess that would be west on 220 to get off it, or to continue on the inner loop, you've got to slow down to about 40 miles an hour because of the way that curve is designed and the way that whole intersection is designed.
Okay.
To bring that through interstate standards, that basically is quite a bit of rework on that interchange.
Okay, what about the bridge? How much rework?
We don't know yet. That's one of the things that they're looking into now is how much actual truck traffic would be diverted onto the bridge. Are there other ways to direct some of that traffic in different ways and whatnot?
Okay, thank you.
And I don't see anybody else. Thank you for coming today.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Commissioner Dominic, we had a request from Commissioner Johnson for an update on the Johnson Sylvania plant in our area lakes. So today we had Mr. Westwise and Bobby Johnson here from the Department of Environmental Affairs and Studies Shreveport to give us an update.
Specifically Cross Lake.
Cross Lake?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank y'all. And we were here, back in January and briefed you back then. I know it's been a while since then, but at the time we were here in January, we were expecting it to be a rough year for Salvinia in the lake, and because we'd had a mild winter, and it has turned out to be a rough year. And you know better than anybody because you're getting the calls from the folks that live out there. But just to recap, Salvinia, I'm sure a lot of you know, it's a floating non-native weed that we have in Cross Lake. It's in I would say all the lakes. And
Yeah.
North Louisiana, South Louisiana, it's everywhere. It's worse in some places than others. It's worse in Bistineau than it is in Cross, but it's plenty bad in Cross. It causes problems, and we don't want it. And you can't get rid of it. All you can do once you have it in a water body at this stage of the game is just manage it as best as you can. So the best tool that we have for managing it is herbiciding. We have a contract with a company that does that. We started out this year with $150,000 in our contract herbiciding budget. We knew in January that was not going to be enough to deal with what we thought was coming this year, and that turned out to be the case. We did, though, this summer go back to City Council, and we were able to get some more funding, which has helped. And we now have about $425,000 in our budget. Most of that's been spent. Of course, the year's almost over, but we think we have enough to get us through the end of the year. It has allowed us to double up on the spraying in the lake. For a while, we just had one contract boat out there. Now we've got two most days. We were also able to arrange about a couple of months ago for the State Wildlife and Fisheries Department contractor to come in and do some spraying in the lake, and that was very effective. They were here for a week, and they brought 6 boats, did a lot of spraying, and it was helpful. Our proposed budget for next year is going to be the same as what we now have in the budget for this year as far as our contract spraying, $425,000, which is better than what we had starting out this year. We're also planning to add some staff so that we can actually do some more spraying of our own next year. So we think we're going to be a little bit better set up next year to fight it. The other thing we've done, as I mentioned back in January, we've partnered with the LSU Ag Center to stock some areas of the lake with a weevil that feeds on it. At this point, it's really more of an experimental thing that we're doing. We can't really say we're having a tremendous amount of success. Bobby took me out on the lake last couple of weeks ago, and we were able to see where the areas that have been stocked with weevils are doing a little bit of good, but you really need a lot more time to see much positive results out of that. It's really just kind of more of a experimental thing, as I say, on that. As far as our current situation right now, it's probably the peak of it. Salvinia loves it when it's warm and sunny, and as Bobby has explained to me, in the real dead heat of the summer, it continues to grow, but it doesn't love it as much as it loves warm fall weather. So right now is about the time that we're getting the most complaints. It's toward the end of the growing season, so we expect it to start going down in terms of coverage for the winter pretty soon, probably within the next month or so. We think we'll see a lot of it drop out for the season. It won't be gone, and then the next spring we'll be back fighting it, again. As I say, we've got more resources. We could always use more. If we had double the amount of money that we have now, we probably would use it. But we're just doing the best we can do.
Several commissioners on the board that want to ask you some questions, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Basically, you answered some of them, but is the herbicide the only thing that we're doing now? That's what I was.
Herbicide and the weevil are the only things that we're doing. We can't. There's some things we can't do. For instance, Bistineau, that we can't draw down the lake, obviously.
Right.
Mechanical harvesting has not really been something that has been proven to be practical. We haven't ruled that out completely, but from a cost standpoint, from a practical standpoint, really the best thing to do is the herbiciding.
Okay, that was my next question. What else can be done? And you said that mechanical harvesting.
Yeah.
What about the one guy came here before with this little grinder deal that picks them up, grinds up, and then puts it back into the lake?
Yeah, and he has been dealing with the State Wildlife and Fisheries Department, trying to convince them that that's a good alternative. They're not convinced yet. We take a lot of our lead from the state on it. I think the state ran some tests with it and concluded that it really, I think it regenerated a lot of what he chopped up, did come back and regenerate. But I think even more so, you have to get back in the trees, you know, to be effective. And where we really have it worse is back up in the trees. And you can spray back there, even though it's difficult to do that, but you literally can't get a boat back in there to get to it. And I think the other issue they had with it was even in the areas where the boat can go, you can spray about 3 or 4 times the acreage in a day than you can cover with his boat. So we haven't ruled it out. We haven't ruled out anything like that, but we're hoping there can be some more developments that would make something like that more practical than what is available now.
Okay. I've been getting a lot of calls, which you already know, ranging from the lake is not navigable, certain parts of it, especially around called Johnson's Arm. They said that some of the motors have been, I guess, tied up with the Sylvania, that it actually has messed their motors up. And, you know, you got people who spent a lot of money to be on lakefront property, and when they go outside, all they see is green. And, you know, they say they pay a lot of taxes just to be on the lake, and it doesn't seem like nobody's doing anything. So they did come out and spray, and it killed it a little bit, kind of made it dormant for a little while, but then it came right back. So it really wasn't nothing that was appealing to them that said that it was successful. And sometimes of the year, the Sylvania actually goes off into like a corner, and when it rains, then it kind of scatters out because the waves push it out into the open part of the lake. And to me, it seems like it's whenever it gets into that pocket that you can actually control it and handle it a whole lot better and keep it confined to that particular pocket, and then, you know, try to attack it best you can then before it's able to regenerate and go back out into the water.
Well, yeah, the nature of it is it's evil.
It sounds like it.
That's about the best way to say it.
But I mean, some time of the year you can actually have birds that's standing on top of this like it's land. I mean, it's not even water.
It forms mats, and the mats can get very thick. And in Bistono, I think there are places where it's feet thick.
Awful.
I mean, and we have a nursery. It's basically been called a nursery for it because back in the trees in the western part of the lake, that's where it starts. And then when we have rain events, it'll flush out. Just like the last week, we had a big rain, and it has flushed out into some other areas of the lake. But it's just what we basically have is a constant battle. And when we get the calls, like you mentioned, I get them to Bobby. Bobby either goes out himself or he'll send our contractor out, and we spray those areas. Most of the areas, as you know, we discussed back in January, they're outside the city limits. So these are folks that aren't paying, you know, water and sewer rates to the city. So we're basically doing things, you know, to benefit, you know, the folks that live around the lake, but they're not necessarily, you know, paying the costs that we're incurring, you know, to spray. But we still do it.
But they do pay property tax.
They do pay property taxes.
Property taxes help generate funds for the city to allocate funds for you guys to go out and do that. And not just the water and sewer rates. I mean, it's property taxes as well.
Absolutely.
So I just don't want you to leave here saying that it's just water rates and sewer
Well,
rates.
I know all of the money that is dedicated to spraying comes from water and sewer revenues. That's where we get our money. So you know, the general fund, I'm not really sure about all of that.
Well, let me help you out on that too.
Thank you.
Lakeview Waterworks buys water from the city of Shreveport.
That's true.
So we are paying it.
Yeah.
At a surcharge, I must say. So this 13% hike is hitting them harder than the people inside the city limits.
There's no question, and we do respond. We've never refused to do it. But our efforts have to be based on programmatic spraying in the lake, and you know, we go out and we spray when we can. But it's just, and the problem is, like you mentioned, we can spray once in an area, in a cove, and then several weeks later the problem is back. It's just.
I got one last question. What can we do as far as the parish commission to help support the fight against this giant Sylvania across lake?
Well, you can invent a way to make it go. I don't know. I mean, we can always, as I say, we can use more resources. we can use more money. I mean, we've been fortunate that we've been able to get some more this year.
Okay.
But I'm not sure that there's anything anybody can do right now other than we're trying to stay plugged into the research that's going on in the field. Texas A&M is doing some, LSU is doing some, to see what's coming down the pike that they can help in the fight. It's just it's a tough one.
Commissioner Thibodeau?
Yeah, I don't know if it was you or someone else that, isn't that stuff poisonous to, as far as being used for animal feed, cattle feed? Is it poisonous?
I don't know that it's poisonous. It
Can be used for.
There's really no nutrient value though.
I didn't hear what you said.
As far as grass carp, which are vegetarian fish, which we do have in the lake, but it's for the hydrilla, not the salvinia. But the grass carp won't eat salvinia because it's toxic to them. And they'll actually die before they eat salvinia.
But is it toxic to?
I don't think so.
So if there were an effective way to harvest part of it,
Right.
could it be used for cattle feed?
Well, it's like 95% water. Right. And once it dries out, I mean, you can just close. There's no substance to it. Not much good. There's people that have looked at that.
Could you come up to the mic? Come up to the mic.
I'm sorry. There's people that have looked at doing alternative things with it, but I haven't heard of anybody doing anything. I'm sure I would hear about it if they were.
But just throwing it up on part of the bank area, since only about 5% of it's going to be left. I mean, that doesn't stop it from regrowing, but at least it gets it out of the lake for a while.
Right. It's just more costly to mechanically remove it.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all.
Okay, Commissioner Cox.
The gentleman that came up here and he was on Channel 3 and he has the mulch machine.
Right.
To me, I don't consider that as mechanical as far as what y'all are saying, dredging stuff up, putting it on the side, stuff like that. So there's a difference between that and that. When you say cities has chipped in or given y'all $425,000, that doesn't last y'all through the season, correct?
We're going to make it last this year, but
Well, you need to because the city ain't probably got nothing to give you next year or anyway. But here's my way of thinking. You got spraying, which you say y'all can get up into the trees next to the bank where this guy that mulches cannot. My philosophy then and it is now is whoever's down in Baton Rouge that doesn't want this guy's product in our lake, he needs to change his philosophy. Why not have spraying and this guy do the same thing at the same time? Yeah, he may not get as much done spraying wise, but when he's done, it's gone. Where spraying, it takes y'all 4 weeks to see a difference after that area has been sprayed, correct?
it takes probably 10 days to 2 weeks.
That's
before
if it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
That's if it doesn't rain, okay? So my question is, why can't you guys go to the guy in Baton Rouge what's his name? That's over there?
Fishery and Wildlife.
Fisherman and Wildlife, well, there's gotta be somebody you're answering to down there. Why can't we say, well, we've tried this for years, and we're still at this point? If you did an aerial photo of this thing 2 years ago, and an aerial photo now, what y'all killed 2 years ago is already back.
Well, I think there have been a couple issues with the mowing machine. One is the area that they're able to cover. They're just literally only able to cover maybe a couple of acres, whereas, somewhere around 5 acres a day, where spraying can cover 4 times that. The other issue, I think, that the Wildlife and Fisheries has had with that mowing machine is that there's evidence that it does regenerate, that they pull it out of the water and then they put it back down.
Here's a news flash. It regenerates after y'all spray it too.
Oh, there's no question. Yeah.
Okay, so the way I look at it is, you get rid of it for a long period of time, and then after that's mulched up, you spray that area, and then kill it? Or do you just keep on doing what we're doing and $450,000, $25,000 is not doing the answer?
My understanding is that is still a more cost-efficient
Cost efficient doesn't give these people who live on the lake their answer. Cost efficient doesn't tell people that years down the road, we're not going to have a major problem, which it's a problem now, but I've seen pictures of lakes completely gone. When do we not get to that point, which Louisiana and Baton Rouge always seems to do? They have to wait till it's an emergency state to say, okay, now we got to do something. No matter what it is, let's do something.
We would much rather a mechanical method of removal. Believe me, we don't like the idea of putting chemicals in the lake, for one thing, even though these chemicals are they're rated for use in the lake. We would much rather not do it.
Well, the weevils aren't working.
Well, the weevils are still in an early stage, but
Okay, but they're not working. They can't eat that much, you know. That's just not going to be a feasible deal. Spraying works to a point, and we all agree to that. It works to a point. And then you have this guy with the mulcher who's probably can retrofit a lot of machines to do a lot of work.
Believe me.
My question is, when can we get the guy from the Baton Rouge up here to work with you guys, work with the city, and work with the parish to come up with a solution to this problem? Because we've been talking about it. I've been here 10 years. We've been talking about this 10 years. When are we going to say enough is enough and say, okay, let's get it done?
All I can tell you is that the exact same issues being dealt with on lakes all over the region, all over the country. We're all in the same boat, and we've all come to the same conclusions, is that we're not, it hasn't gotten to the point where that solution is a feasible alternative. We don't want to rule it out, and I think, it's still being looked at. There are different versions of that are being looked at, but at this point, it's not something that has been tested and has been found to be effective.
I remember when the oil derrick busted open and caught fire and everything, and the federal government was telling Bobby Jindal, we can't do this, we can't do that. What did he do? He loaded up barges and went out to the derrick and did it that way, without the government's praise and official okay to get the job done. I'm telling you here today, I'm telling the administration today, telling Mr. Vice President today, we need to do something now. We need to do something so by next spring we have a course of action besides spraying. And if that means Wildlife and Fisheries from Baton Rouge has to come up here and waste his time with us, I think that's what he needs to do. He needs to give us an explanation of why they cannot get an answer. They need to give us an answer why they cannot give us and these guys more support. Okay?
Commissioner
Yes.
Cox, 2 years ago we did write the Department of Fish and Wildlife and talk about this very same subject and ask them to consider this mechanical method.
Mm-hmm.
And we also wanted to know how much chemicals were being used, how much man hours we put into it. They answered that, and they told us that they were not going to use the mechanical method because they had not yet approved that as a long-term
Because of money.
solution. That was the answer that I can provide for you Thursday.
I think I would like to put out an invitation to them to come to
Okay.
one of our meetings and make this a meeting that
We can do that too.
you guys come back to, the city of Shreveport comes to, and anybody else that's having this problem, because it is not going to go away with us putting a Band-Aid on it.
We will
Plain and
invite you to
simple.
come to the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And thanks for your help. No offense to y'all.
Oh, no.
But I think y'all are getting gypped out of solving this problem.
It's a tough problem. What would, I don't even know if this would solve it, but what would help immensely is if we had a winter like we had in 1983 when the river froze, and Mother Nature could help us a lot.
Yeah, they've already talked about that on the news. They were talking about it the other day. Commissioner Lynch?
Tell me your name again, please.
Wes White,
Wes.
and this is Bobby Johnson.
Okay, now Wes, what do you do for the parish?
For the city, I'm environmental
Sorry? Oh,
services.
you with the city?
Yes, ma'am.
No wonder my blood pressure up. Okay.
It takes that much to get it up?
Okay, and what about Bobby?
He and I work together with the
Oh, you with
city.
the city too? Okay, what department is that?
Engineering and environmental services.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. Okay, so the money that the city kicked in, how much was that?
This year, we ended up with, Our spray budget was $425,000.
And
That does not include.
How much did we spend, the parish?
We spent about 10,000, ma'am, and now up in Caddo Lake. We only address Caddo Lake, we don't address Cross Lake.
That got changed. And we do them.
But this problem is
cleaning
all,
station.
And that money goes to the Department of Fishery and Wildlife because they're responsible for that lake, and they do the majority of the work that goes on in regards to the John Sylvania plant in Caddo Lake.
All of our spraying money comes from water and sewer, city water and sewer revenue.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's why you were saying
And
that.
what did we put up? Some
Okay,
signage
so
about cleaning your meat.
in terms of Cross Lake, the state gets to decide how the Sylvania is attacked.
No, it's up to us,
That's right, Carl. Get it done.
Okay, meaning the city.
the city.
Oh, I pulled you.
The state works with us, and the state has helped us. As I mentioned, we were able to get them in. I don't know how much it cost them to come in and spray the lake for the 1 week that they were here. That they brought 6 boats. It probably was $100,000 or more worth of chemicals in their time.
So let me ask you, on the Sylvania Buster guy, the giant Sylvania Buster, like the Ghostbuster guy,
Amen.
if the parish were to look at, I guess, experimenting some section, some what have you, with that, would you all be amenable to considering that?
Absolutely. As
Okay.
any resources, any guidance, any funds, and anything, we're open to anything.
Okay. Now let me ask you, when you said that the mechanical harvesting is a little bit more costly, in what are some figures?
I don't have figures for you today. I could probably.
I mean, are you
Put
talking about a
something together.
considerable amount more money, or are you talking about $5,000 or $10,000?
Well, it would be a lot. What we'd have to do is look at it on a per acre comparison, what it would cost per acre to treat over a period of time with chemicals versus an acre to treat over a period of time with the
Okay, if you don't
mechanical.
mind, I'd like to get an idea what that is.
Yeah, we can look at that.
Okay, and then when you said, well, now that I know you with the city, I don't have to worry about this extra money you're talking about. But when you say it about doubling the amount,
Right.
what exactly will we get for that?
Well, we were probably spraying at well, I don't know if we can give you an exact number, but our contract company that sprays in the lake had 1 boat with a 2-man crew for most of the spring, summer, going into the fall. With the additional money that we got from City Council this summer, we were able to now have 2 boats full-time out there from then until the end of the year.
Okay, and so when you said you added staff, that's the other boat you were talking?
We haven't done that yet. That's in our proposed budget that's going to the council in a couple of weeks and for next year's budget. So we don't have the added staff yet.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So
Hoping we'll get
the
that.
money wouldn't necessarily eradicate it. It would just allow more frequent spraying.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha. Do you know who's actually doing any research on figuring out how to kill this thing? Is LSU doing research? Who's actually involved in doing research?
Texas A&M is LSU. And that, we're partnering, as I mentioned, with LSU Ag Center on the weevil, which is a generally accepted way of combating it, and it works well in some parts. I've seen some, I think some lakes in South Louisiana that the weevil has been very successful in completely controlling it.
So this is LSU out of Baton Rouge?
The LSU Ag Center, they have an office here.
Okay.
And LSU in Baton Rouge as well.
I'd definitely be interested, along with whoever David requested to come talk with us, to get an update on that, because, I mean, that's really, it's just like with cancer or anything else. The research part is important, because if they can figure out a way to eradicate this thing, it's going to save everybody some money.
There's no question, and the way we approach it, we're not researchers. We try to stay as plugged in as we can to every alternative that's out there, and we're doing. He's been having nightmares about Salvinia for the last couple of years. He's doing everything, basically doing everything he can do. Oh, yeah.
And then we'll be in Baton Rouge in February, I believe, for the police jury convention. So we need to get on somebody's calendar while we're there. I mean, they may be up here in the interim, I'm not sure. But for certain, we can make an appointment while we're down there anyway to visit with wildlife and fisheries. Thank you.
And if I might, one thing I'd like to say, Salvinia is not a water quality problem for the lake. It doesn't pose a threat to the drinking water supply, in that way. I mean, it could pose a threat to the long-term life of the lake, but it's not a water quality issue.
Commissioner Lynn?
Thank you, Mr. Wash, for coming today. I appreciate you being here. It's a lot to work with the city and then deal with us as well.
Our pleasure.
Is there anything being done at the launches as far as keeping people from bringing Salvinia from, because I know if I have a boat, I go to Bistino, to Caddo, I would go to Black Bayou, but you can't even put in there because you can walk across it now, and then back to Cross Lake. And so are there any catch guards to keep it from being reintroduced?
We have signs up at all of the boat launches asking everybody, and boaters generally know they need to keep their boats clean when they go into the lake, and the signs remind them of that. I know we were checking boats, bass tournaments. He's been out to monitor boats, and we've turned some folks around, but that's tough because it doesn't take much, and of course now it's there, but yeah, we tried to do kind of an awareness campaign and put up signs, and years ago when this was starting to become an issue.
The Brazilian weevil that y'all have in place and the freezing temperature, could you tell me at what temperature does the weevil die, and at what temperature does the freezing temperature kill the Salvinia?
I couldn't tell you that. I don't know that anybody knows that with any degree of precision, but I think it is true that the Salvinia is hardier than the weevil, and the Salvinia will make it through a cold winter better than the weevil will, which is the problem.
Yeah, they've been survived for over 20 months.
That's the problem. In Brazil, I think it must never get cold enough to knock out the weevil, so that the weevil naturally keeps the Salvinia in check down there, but not here.
What eats the weevil?
Nothing.
Time. Is that a riddle?
The lifespan is short.
That's all. Thank you. That's all,
Commissioner Jefferson?
President.
Oh,
Commissioner Bowman?
yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was going to ask you about the weevils myself. Can we get more, or does that have to come from? Is that due to lack of funding?
No, and we have stocked them in a couple of places in the lake. I think any time that LSU has some available, even A&M has some available, I think we've been able to get them. You can't just stock the weevil, you have to stock Salvinia infested with the weevil.
Right.
And there are only certain places that are really good candidates for stocking those, but I think we're pretty comfortable that we can get what we need on those. The big issue is just, as we were just talking about, is the survival of the weevils through the winter.
Right. Also, I was reading about, it said it's 3,000 to 4,000 ppm of salt. Have you heard anything about salt being a remedy or a solution to it?
I have not.
Salt is actually one of the main things that actually kills Salvinia, because it's derived from South America, the plant itself, Salvinia molesta.
I know we would have an issue with that in our water supply, but I haven't heard of that as being an alternative for treatment up here.
Yes, sir.
It will, I mean, salt would get it, but it violates the EPA standards. I was telling Commissioner Johnson back years ago, Black Bayou never had any hydrilla, no, of course it was before Giant Salvinia or anything else back when saltwater disposal wells and things like that. And Todd's shaking his head, he knows all that was perfectly fine, but when the EPA regulations came back, I don't know when, it stopped all that stuff. And same thing with Caddo Lake. Those things popped up.
Right. So I guess that's not an option. One other thing Commissioner Thibodeau brought up, and I thought it was a good idea, you can tell me, with the net. Have you ever thought about using, since it's, the Salvinia plant grows out like a mat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like carpet. Would you get one end,
and get the other, like, and make it a net to pull it back? Is that a possibility?
It seems like that would work, Bobby. I don't know if you, it's.
So at least delay the growth if you get it off of that area.
Right. In areas like the intake area where
Yes,
we
sir.
can't use herbicides, I've got a boom and reel. I've got like 2,000 feet of boom, 6-inch boom. And if it gets really bad in that area, I can pull that boom out and maybe pull it back that way because we can't do herbicides. Because we've already seen it inside the intake crib this year.
But on a large scale, I don't think that would be a practical
No.
thing to do. It's
And
beyond that.
A mechanical harvester would work good.
Gotcha.
Right.
All right, well, that's a thought. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman.
Commissioner Escaday?
I think you got Ken.
Ken, were you on there too?
Yeah. You,
Okay, Commissioner Epperson?
uh,
I can't, I got new glasses coming. I'm looking up here.
Mr. Wilson, you had that correspondence from the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries we got?
Yes, sir, I
Took us
did.
a while to get it, so you had that for everyone Thursday?
Yes, sir, I believe you asked me for that a couple of years ago,
Right,
didn't
Also, we had the gentleman up here with the,
Mulcher machine.
the mulcher. I think we had a meeting and maybe a video may be on.
Right.
We might pull that up and give it to. And I agree with Commissioner Cox, we need to basically have a summit, some focus relative to that. Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, the gentleman with the mulcher, and both governmental entities here, so we can focus on that. And also, Mr. Cox, if you can see if we can get someone on the appropriate committee at our Police Jury Association to put that on our agenda in Baton Rouge.
Okay.
I think we need to get a little bit more awareness about the severity of this situation.
I'll send an email out today.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Escaday?
Are you aware of whether or not the state is directly contracting with people to spray certain bodies of water?
They have a contract. I don't know if it's one company or several, but
They've got a few, but I think mostly they're using the company out of Houston, Spray Coat. Those are the ones that,
They're contracted directly with the state, and then, of course, like the city has its own contracts, and depending on what, the state does have some contracts.
Right.
Do you have any idea what their budget is for Sylvania eradication?
23 million.
23 million? So somebody's making some bank off those
Yes,
contracts.
indeed.
Maybe they don't want this machine to be cost effective
That's what it's always
because it eats into somebody's livelihood. Just a thought, anyway. You said, and one more point. You said that they've been very successful with the weevils in South Louisiana.
I think I've heard that. I know in some parts of the country, and I think even in South Louisiana,
Yeah,
they have
It
that.
doesn't tend to get as cold during the winter, but it still gets cold. So do they not lose all of their weevils either during the winter?
No,
Do they not die off?
They have a healthy salvinia year-round down there, and the weevils seem to be fairly better.
Okay, so they have a healthier weevil?
Salvinia.
Salvinia.
Right. The salvinia don't really die off down there like it does up here. We'll actually have a dieback from just the cooler weather.
Because it doesn't die down there?
Right.
They're just constantly having to eat it?
And the weevils and the larvae, they're all temperature sensitive. Everything in aquatics is relative. to
Okay,
water
so
temperature.
weevil introduced into Cross Lake rather than in Lake Pontchartrain. Well, Lake Pontchartrain's salt, you wouldn't have a problem, but somewhere else down there, that he gets acclimated to his climate.
Yeah.
Is what you said. So
Right.
by the time the
Well-
winter comes, the southern weevil may be able to take a little more.
Right, and they're at Texas A&M, supposed to go to Argentina this summer, late summer or this fall, and they've got a higher elevation Salvinia weevil that's supposed to be more cold tolerant, and they're supposed to be
I
bringing, but
imagine-
that'll be a couple of years before that comes into play.
Imagine places like LSU, I imagine their research is a lot on how to strengthen the weevil and make him a better weevil.
They're trying to genetically alter.
Give me steroids. Yeah.
They're trying to genetically alter. It's probably not a whole lot of.
Just a final couple of questions. Is the plant toxic to humans?
No, sir.
Anybody try to come up with a recipe for it? Japanese eat, kelp and seaweed and and there's a billion Chinese, maybe come up with a recipe. You could retire off of that. Try cooking some at home and see what you come up with. Put a little crab ball in there. Maybe it's good.
Spinach.
Somebody tried to smoke it up there and roll it out up there.
Well, I know this problem is the same problem that we're sitting here talking about today, but almost everybody with bodies of water in the South are talking about the same thing. So it's a huge problem. I imagine that the reason it's before us today is because we have some lakefront property owners who are inconvenienced about being able to use the lake, and I understand that. On the flip side of that, I can promise you the city is going to do everything, whatever it needs to do, that it can afford to do, to keep its water supply open, because they're in the water business. You said that it wasn't threatening the quality of the water, but from what I understand, every time we spray it, as it dies off, a lot of it settles to the bottom, and then you get the new. Eventually, the level of the lake is decreasing, right, and the sediment's building up. So, in effect, over the long term, it is threatening our water supply, is it not?
Over the long term, I would say yes, and if it's unchecked, it would even speed it up further, shorten the lifespan even further.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to weigh in on some of the comments that have been said. I think Commissioner Escudé is right. I think it's more contractual than actually trying to find a solution. It seems like to me you need a twofold approach. You need to cut and spray. And that's something they probably need to look at. But unfortunately, they continue to spray. If you keep doing the same old thing, you'll get the same old results. I think it's an act of nature. It's something God designed to be in the water. And sometimes we just can't fix God problems. But hopefully, we can find an effective way to have good, clean drinking water for the residents in Caddo and Shreveport. And do it in a smart way without threatening our water supply. And I just don't think pesticide is good for water, no kind of way, regardless of what we're spraying. But in the long run, it will affect our water supply over the years. So we can't keep doing the same old thing and get the same old results. The problem haven't disappeared or went away. We got to find a better way to utilize the resources we have. Currently, you say an increase and got a budget of $425,000. Don't tell me what it'll be in the next few years. As it grows, and it's spread out. So I hope that Commissioner Cox requests and this administration go out hard to ask the wildlife fishermen and the EPA and those to come up here and sit down, because we keep having the same old discussion, and you keep telling us the same old answers, and nothing to you what you're doing, but all the wise men around here need to come up with a better solution. And I done heard everything from weaver to leave it to beaver, but unfortunately, it's not working. And the stakeholders here, us and the parish, probably need to belly up, and maybe for the parish part, need to probably add in some resources as well, because then we can have a twofold approach. That we can use the machine that the gentleman has, continue to spray, and maybe some kind of way, find a way to clean it up as we go as well. So there are some creative ways, some innovative ways. Maybe we can look at this. I hate spraying pesticides in water. For some reason, that hasn't been a good recipe for success. But hopefully, with your expertise and leadership, you've done a great job considering what you have to work with. You've done well. Nobody had any water problem as of yet. But $23 million the state has, and that's a lot of resource, a lot of pesticides, a lot of spray. And I wonder how long the contractor has had this contract. Maybe they don't want a solution to the problem with the machine. It's cheaper. Anybody who you paying will tell you that ain't good. So depends on who decide to consulting on as well. So I hope we get that request and get it done real soon. This is something going on way before I even got here. Even when I ran for office, they asked me what the solution. I never heard of it. All I heard of was collard greens and cabbage, but I ain't never heard of this kind of plant before in my life. So this is something way out of my league, but unfortunately we do have the expertise like you. That's why we counted on you to come up with the problem. All right?
You live on the wrong side of Caddo.
Maybe I got to get one of them big houses down there. Right?
You ever heard of collard greens and what?
Collard greens and cabbage greens. Now you heard of Savannah leaves. That's something we don't have that in my hood. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wilson, I hope you're the last one to talk about this issue.
Hey, I am. I just want to offer up a comment. We also participated in a congressional hearing that was conducted here. So, Ward, could you give us an update on what came out of that, please? Just for your knowledge, Commissioners.
Just kind of a quick update. You know, if y'all remember, Representative Fleming is the chairman of the subcommittee for, I think it's Natural Resources and Oceanic. And about 2 years ago, Representative Fleming and Representative Gomer from East Texas had a actual subcommittee here in Shreveport, and I served on the panel for Caddo on behalf of Leigh Raymond. And we had a lot of discussion about the John Sylvania, and then later they went up and took a tour of Caddo Lake on the East Texas side of it, so that they could actually to watch it and look at it and see it. So keep in mind, this goes all the way to D.C. with Representative Fleming, as well as I know on the state level, Representative Morris is very familiar with it. We've discussed year after year on our legislative days. We visit with him, and then of course Senator Tarver. He actually lives on Cross Lake. I know his inlet is silted in with the Giant Sylvania. We just finished working on a road project up there, and his house is right there on it, and we can see the Giant Sylvania from the roadside. So, it does have an impact all the way to Washington D.C. And I think there's some room. You know, if we want to push this up the ladder some more, we can actually push it up. Our legislative every year, just to kind of remind you, we're actually just asking for them to continue to fund. They keep threatening not to fund the state $23 million. That goes to the Caddo Lake, because we're concerned about Caddo. So we keep asking them to fully fund their program for Giant Sylvania and Caddo. But at the same time, we do keep subsidizing it. Last year was $10,000, up to, I think it was 2 years ago, we put up to almost $50,000 additional funds to help with that cause. So it is a problem, and it is a federal and as well as a state level. So I just want to bring that up to kind of remind y'all of that.
Okay. Mr. Wash, I got a couple of questions. Since everybody else has spoken, what about aerial spraying? I mean, I know we did the boat spraying. It would just seem like the helicopter spray and aerial spray would be more effective, maybe more expeditiously. I know it probably costs more, but it seems like you just put one swipe in there. I mean,
yeah,
I know that, like up in the Caddo Lake area, which has been so bad, and which you're exactly talking, it gets into the more narrow areas like we call Jeans Bayou. You know, that's what really gets effective. I mean, where it really takes hold.
It's a good question. I think, and Bobby can correct me on this, but I think one of the issues is where we really have the problem, where the nursery is, that just where it all kind of emanates from, is back in the trees. And I don't know that.
But the air, when you're up there, I mean, you couldn't do it during the fall when the trees don't have any leaves. Most of those trees in the water don't have any leaves anyway. I mean, cypress trees, you know.
Right. Wildlife and Fisheries has been talking about using a new formula in the winter time when there's not any foliage on the cypress trees.
Yes.
So it can actually get down to the plant, not on the tree. They're supposed to be trying it maybe this year.
Well, I would think there's something needs to be looked at. So it sounds good to me.
It may be because there are areas that we literally even with a boat can't get to.
Well, yeah, you get a boat and you're going to hit a tree or something.
I mean, and you can spray. I don't know how far out you can spray, but
sure.
It's not that far from the boat. So it's just as with everything else. It's anything. Any possible alternative we're willing to look at, and that there is some merit to that.
And the state, as far as them, their contribution was that 1 week that they were here.
Right.
And I would just simply say that, ever since I've been on the commission, right before I got on the commission, I'd say about a year before is when all this stuff took hold. And it really started in Caddo Lake. And, we passed an ordinance to kind of address exactly what Commissioner Lynn was saying, that, hey, don't be bringing any foreign substance or plants from one boat into your lake, and I know that we put some booms. I think y'all had some booms and nets to try to keep it from spreading. I don't know how good that's worked or that's still out there, but it's got out in the lakes, and Caddo Lake is just terrible. Black Bayou is worse. The more narrow area it is just where it is, and I don't know what to do about it. We're scratching our heads and trying the best. So I know Commissioner Lynch, I think, sent me a thing that maybe we need to send this to a committee, so I'll get with Commissioner Baker when she gets back to see about putting this on a committee to see what we can do to it's just a bad deal.
It's a bad deal, and it's not the only non-native nuisance weed that we have to fight in Cross Lake.
Sure, you got the hydrania,
hydrilla, you have water hyacinths,
and it's
same thing. All of these are non-native that were kind of artificially put in
here just like a boa constrictor got.
Are you still spraying chemicals to treat it?
I'm sorry?
Still using chemicals to treat it?
Yes.
That's another chemical, see, top
Well,
chemical.
yeah, that's
chemical.
true. Now, again, all these chemicals are rated for use in drinking water supplies, and we've done monitoring, and we're totally comfortable with using the chemicals. But
Mr.
it's-
Weiss, we appreciate you coming in here, taking out the time of your busy schedule to talk to us about this important issue. Obviously, it's very, very important to each and every one of us, all of us commissioners, because we have lakes that are affected. I have them in the northern part of the parish, and I know the inner city commissioners are worried about Cross Lake, so appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your interest and your concern.
We'll be in touch. Thank you. That's my report, sir.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and go on the communications committee reports, and then we're going to step back up. We do have have one visitor. Let's go into our communications and committee reports real quick. Is anybody, Commissioner Lynn?
I just wanted to say that in reference to the tree planting that we anticipate doing in January, we have been given $2,500 with Ken Ward's help from AEP SWEPCO towards private trees because government can't give money to the private citizens. Also, Shreveport Green, Donna Curtis has submitted a architectural plan, a blueprint of the interchanges on I-49 that would include bald cypress, our state tree, magnolias, and some oak trees as well. Moving on to another subject, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Tuesday at the Riverview Hall, the Unified Development Code meeting, open house for everybody within the community to come and give your ideas is wide open. I encourage everybody to show up. The master plan was a book with lots of pretty pictures and an idea of what we could move forward towards, trees being included in that. Also, the UDC plan is going to, at one point in time, be written law, written ordinance. And so where the master plan could look kind of fluffy, the UDC is actually going to be ink and paper and written law. So I encourage everybody out there paying any attention to show up. Thank you. That's all. Commissioner Dominic.
Okay, Commissioner Thibodeau?
Yeah, I will remind everyone to turn in your evaluation sheets for Dr. Wilson and for Todd, so that we can have everyone's evaluation when we actually do them.
I need to get one.
I gave one to everybody. It was, yeah, you were. Your spirit this year.
Spirit.
We'll get you one.
Hey, you have some extra ones?
I may, I don't
Okay.
know. I can get them.
I'm gonna need one or two too. Okay, Commissioner. Let's get one vote, okay. Commissioner Epperson?
Ms. Bryant, is Bentler still hiring now? Any positions whatsoever? I'm hearing rumors. And I certainly would hope we wouldn't want to get the bottom of the barrel.
Yes, sir, they're hiring for the administrative, they're not hiring for the...
For administrative positions or in administrative?
The administrative, like the clerical, the in-house staff.
Where is that being publicized?
Well, they still have it on their website.
On their website?
It's BentlerJobsLouisiana.com, I believe, and any person can register on that website. And
what is it again?
Bentler Jobs in Louisiana. I got to make sure that's right.
Can you email it to everybody?
Yeah,
I sure can. I can email you.
Okay. Is it possible that we can have a link on our website and our Human Resource Department?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Because, hey, we kicking in $2.5 million to get a doggone road. And we certainly don't, like I say, we want our people to be notified.
Amen.
Yes, sir. We can do
So
that.
how soon could we get that on our link?
This afternoon or in the morning first thing.
Probably
Okay.
tomorrow.
And is there any way that we might publicize that too? Let's do a little press release that Bentler is hiring. You can go to a link on the parish's Human Resource Department website and give the correct website of Bentler Steel.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we don't, you know, all that, you know, we put up and all that, and then they're gonna leave us out.
Well,
that
sir,
don't make no sense.
that web address that I just gave, we gave that at the beginning when Bentler first announced.
I know, but we look for special consideration with you being on the board.
Amen.
Make sure that we get our name out there.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wilson, Mr. Glass, I'd just like to do a public thank you to, I call him Hank. I don't know his real name.
That's
but,
it. James Hank.
That's right. I just call him Brother Hank.
Yeah.
But that gentleman does a phenomenal job. Anytime you call, he's on it. And I had two neighbors out there squabbling over a drainage ditch, and I was in the middle of it. And I was glad when he got out of that pickup truck. You know, he's a pretty good sized fellow with that big bald head, and he brought order to that situation. But please give him a thank you.
I will.
And all of his crew. They're right on time. They're courteous, and everywhere he's going out to, and the citizens interact with him, get rave reviews. The General Electric, you know, we gave them that tax rebate. They supposedly we're going to do an expansion, and I think we got this deal where they get tax rebate on the equipment and construction costs and things, provided that they do some jobs. How are we on that? I was alarmed with the response you got initially.
Yes, sir. We're trying to do a follow-up to talk to someone else.
Okay.
And
let's do the headquarters.
Yes, sir.
Government relations. Do it certified. Copy whoever the management staff is here, and please copy me too. I'll go out there and knock on their door. They said they were going to create 60 jobs. We voted to give them that tax abatement, and then they're going to turn around and not going to report to us. That's all I have. Thank you.
Just update, Commissioner Johnson has pulled that website up since he is computer savvy, and it is, what is it, Commissioner?
BenlerJobsInLouisiana.com.
So it is there, just to let y'all know where it is if y'all wanted to know immediately. So.
Okay. We'll be on the website, right?
Yes, sir, we will.
This afternoon. Thank you.
Commissioner Bowman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. The Animal Service Committee, we met today for the first time, our initial meeting. And I think we're quite productive. We have a flow to work with now. We've set a 5-member advisory board member group, 5 members for our advisory board today. And the next meeting we'll do, right now we met to go over the ordinances. So that's the homework into the next meeting, which is going to be on the national holiday, Michael Williams, Commissioner Williams' birthday, November 18th.
It's a local day of mourning.
Dog day. Mr. Chairman, that's it.
As long as they don't bring one of them little boxes to you on that.
As long as they beat.
Open that box.
Old Michael. Then we got old Michael here. Poor old Michael. Commissioner Escaday?
I just want to acknowledge observing a letter that we got from our deputy commission clerk on the sad news of her imminent retirement. It just seems like yesterday that I met Miss Samuels when she came to work for the parish. Me and Commissioner Epperson. Miss Samuels is still a lovely young lady, and Ken and I have turned gray in the interim, so
That ain't hard to understand.
time sure flies. Be quiet, baby. At least I've got more hair than you. I wouldn't be criticized. It's a pretty color anyway.
Mine distinguished.
Distinguished, yes. But anyway, I just, golly, it's just, time flies. I'm sure there'll be more to come, but I just want to wish you well in the rest of your life. Thank you.
No, not yet.
I just now saw that. I hadn't seen it. Commissioner Lynch?
Yes, I just had a quick question on the, and I can get this information later, Ms. Bryant. On the solid waste fund, what exactly is included in that? What do we actually spend that money on?
We have the,
Speak up, please. On the solid waste fund.
Commissioners, we fund the 18 compactor sites across the parish. The staff that has to staff those sites, as well as maintain them, and also the. But if you need additional information, I do the books, but you have the head of Public Works who oversees the solid
No,
waste
you watch the
department.
money. I'm talking to the right person.
You are. I'm just saying, if you want more detail.
What I was looking at on this budget retreat document was
Yes,
this
ma'am.
$20 million fund balance.
Yes, ma'am.
And their revenues are 3.2 million, and they spend about 3 million of that every year. And I don't know if we ever looked at potentially rededicating some of that fund. Can we move some of that money?
No, ma'am.
That's dedicated?
Yes.
So it'd have to be rededicated?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's the sales tax.
We've done that before.
Let me ask you, yeah, we did for Public Works. Let me ask you on the, one other question I had. On the salary increase from 2013 to 2014 is about $2 million. I wanted to get a breakdown by department on that.
In your,
What it would be, whatever the average is, what it would be by department.
yes, ma'am. In the budget book, on page C-17.
C-17, okay.
There is but that's salary and benefits by fund, by department.
By fund and department?
Well, it's in Public Works, we break it down for administration, North Camp, South Camp. And for the general fund, it's the commission, finance, HR, IS.
Okay, all right, I'll look at it.
Okay, if you need something more detailed than that, then
Okay.
let me
Okay,
know.
I'll look at it. And then let me ask you on the property taxes.
Yes, ma'am.
2013 to 2014 is about a $2 million projected increase. So is there any way to sweep that increase into another fund?
All property taxes are dedicated for the purpose that are approved by the voters, by the citizens. So we are accounting for the property taxes in each individual fund that the voters approve.
That
for
include the
that
general fund?
Except for the general fund. General fund is unrestricted, but all other property taxes are restricted for that purpose.
Right, so is there a breakdown to where I can look how much of this $41 million, where it's going?
Yes, ma'am. If you look in the budget on page C13 and 14.
C13 and 14, okay.
If you have, from C13 to C15, we give a breakdown of each millage and the purpose, and then we give a breakdown of the projected revenue for 2013 and the budget for 2014.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Is that it, Commissioner Lynch?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, saw Commissioner Baker, but that's me. Okay.
Wow, you checked.
Woody,
Yes, sir.
I know Camaris was supposed to meet with you to go over tomorrow. So you are meeting with them? Okay, all right, just want to make sure. And that was the only thing I had, so we have Commissioner Williams.
Ms. Vita, we received your letter. I want to go on record and say it's been denied.
She's got 2 words for you, and you can't say them on the air.
Bless you.
No one wants to bless you.
1 out of 2.
Y'all got to pray hard for me. You got to tarry fast.
Okay, Commissioner Clerk? I called you honor, now I'm calling you Commissioner.
Hey, Commissioner, we're going to let the lady come up.
We have no president's report? Yeah, I did have one report. I just wanted to say that this past Tuesday, I did go to, we had the joint signing of the proclamation of the City of Shreveport, the Caddo Parish Commission, Bossier City, and Bossier Police Jury that was held at the Bossier City Council chambers with regard acknowledging the Veteran Day celebration that Commissioner Epperson is heading up. Was well attended. It was a wonderful event. I know that Ms. Vita has been putting in a lot of effort there, and as Commissioner Epperson says, I think you put him in charge of something. He really knows how to put the people around him to do a great job. I know you're doing a good job, and just keep up the good work, but I appreciate the invite. And I'm sure he's gonna remind us Thursday about the Veterans Day parade and all that stuff. We'll save it for Thursday since we've gone over enough stuff. And we'll move on. Okay, before we move to the next item, we do need to go back to our public comments or citizens' comments. I had one that was turned in a little bit late, but I think it's just all for fairness to let the citizens speak. So I'm going to call her up at this time, Sharon Law. She's here to talk about the Children of Faith Learning Center. Ms. Law, if you can come forward. I'm sorry we had to move you down and went through all the John Sylvania stuff. It took a little bit longer than I thought it was.
Thank you for your patience.
If you will give us your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes to address this, please.
My name is Sharon Long. I live at 5729 Farrell Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana 71129. And I'm here on behalf of Children of Faith Learning Center. We were established in 2007, and we're now in the old M.J. Moore building, where we're wanting to turn it into a community resource center for the community of Sunset Acres. We now have our food pantry up, where we're serving between 60 and 70 people per month with food and clothing. Our project now is to move our daycare into that area. We have after-school program, job training. We're looking into pre-K for the community. We bring in HIV on the campus awareness. We also have mental health up there for the kids, feeding program, community training. The building was vandalized. We talked to some of the kids in the community to ask them what happened to the building, why was it vandalized, and they told us, well, they closed our school, and they were upset because the school was closed. So, and the next question they asked us, well, are y'all gonna leave us? And we told them no, that we're here to stay, that we're here for them. So we're in the community, and we're here for the community over there in Sunset Acres, and it's a big project. Like I said, the school was vandalized, and we're working towards cleaning the school up, doing the repairs, as well as getting these programs open for the community over there. And we're seeking funding to help us along the way. We got some in, and we're seeking others. We must have the library. I think that was the hardest hit area in there that they tore up the worst, but we've gotten books on the shelves. There's other stuff that need to be done to the library, but we're working to get those things done. We also have in the auditorium on Sundays, church for the community. So I wanted to come today to present this to you all, to let y'all know that we're over there for that community, and we're seeking funding to finish our project.
Ms. Law, thank you so very much.
Yeah,
We have a couple commissioners on the board. Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Even though this is not in my district, but I feel this is a national epidemic in poor neighborhoods and poor communities. I want to commend the young lady who here before today, who has made a personal and a significant investment, not only from a church, but from their own personal funding, to ensure that young poor children in that community had some type of family-oriented facility to provide those basic fundamental services they need. We know that a child cannot learn if he don't have proper food. He can't eat. He can't eat, he can't learn. You can't provide basic fundamental resources that those children need in that particular community. It's been overlooked for years in the Sunset Acres community. It's not in my district. I think it's maybe Commissioner Lynch district, Quillen. But I know that school was one of the schools that we had for the Start Boot Camp program years ago. When I first came to the commission, help was instrumental in bringing the boot camp program here from Conroe, Texas. But I think there would be a worthwhile investment on thousands and thousands of children in that community, because when you lose a school which is the cornerstone of the community, the library and the church. The community usually dies. And we need to write some life in the community by giving them some hope, by providing some fundamental resources that they need, because all the time, a lot of the poor children don't have even families at home. There's no man at home in the house. Mama's at home trying to raise 3 or 4 children. To no fault of our own, we can't point the finger at mama, but mama needs some help in raising these boys and girls in those poor neighborhoods. And we partner up with many social agencies in the community that are doing a great job. Tax dollars well spent. And I think it's something we should do on the funded budget process, and maybe amend our budget and see what this group would do with this request. And we can judge them based on what they did with the amount that they're asking for. So I hope that we will reconsider our position. She's also providing a church ministry for the people in that area. If anything else our community, the world needs, they need Jesus Christ in their life. If nothing else, we can socialize medicine in this country to death, but it ain't working. So the only thing we got to turn back to is our fundamental foundation that helped us all to be the men and women that we are today, is our faith. We need to restore hope and faith back into these young people, because they don't get it nowhere else. They don't get it at home, they don't get it at school. There's got to be somebody to be the incubator to save their lives, to give them a chance to be, because they say America is the promised land. And if America is the promised land, well, we ought to have promises for people that come here and that live here. And hope that we will reconsider during that time and try to help them with some seed capital, so we can see it, and also go out and support them as well. Provide clothing for the people, not only just food. HIV testing is very high in the North Louisiana area, and other diseases, syphilis and those things. See these, all kind of diseases. So hopefully we can reduce some of the things that are going on in our community that are negative. Everything you see about African Americans on TV is very negative, from shooting to killing to violence to dropping out of school to sagging of the pants. Even in video games, you see negative guns and Uzi and rifles. And we need to paint a better picture for America. The young African American male can be more than just rap singers, but there can be other things besides that. So what they see is what they become. And Hollywood is painting a very negative picture, and all they do is propaganda and making money off of the entertainment industry, and they bankrupting in America by showing these negative sides of what they do. So we need some positive to counteract that, Commissioner Thibodeau. We need something to counter what they're doing and restore some values back into this world. So we appreciate it. We'll try to help you. Thank you.
Commissioner Epperson?
Ma'am, could you get with Mr. Bowman and ask him to give you the names of that committee that we're working with on the animal control situation that we have? Might be nice too, maybe if you incorporate, say, like animal responsibility or something like that. Out in your center. They may be able to help you with some type resources too that can help sustain.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bowman?
That's a good one, Commissioner Epperson. I'm sorry, man, my voice is not the best, but I just want to tell you, I do applaud Ms. Law and Mr. Ken Law, what you all are doing. The Children of Faith Learning Center, it actually is a learning center, and it's one of the few places I remember you all have moved, but the few that's consistent, that actually does what a model says it's going to do. And so I definitely support you in any way I can to lend support. I also want to know, as far as Thanksgiving, what program do you have, you all have coming up?
November 16th, we'll be giving out food, and on that day, we'll be feeding them a hot meal also.
Yes, ma'am.
On the 16th of November.
And do you all need any volunteers to help as well?
Yes, we have volunteers that come out and pull the food. We worked the pantry today, so we had to pull food, and then we'll have a group to come in to bag the food.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we'll have a group to show up to help the older people get the food to their cars. So,
and you also do deliveries as well, right?
yes, if they call, some of them might call and say they can't come out and get the food.
I actually am going to.
Then we'll take it. We have a van, and we'll deliver the food to them.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that, and I will be there helping you all. When you come back tomorrow.
I'll be healthy too.
Oh, praise
It's before
God.
his birthday.
It's not the 18th.
Commissioner Bowman will be delivering, you're gonna be eating it, is that what you said?
Commissioner Thibodeau?
Yeah, I just had two things. One, you said that the kids told you that they tore the school up because they closed it. I hope you inform them that committing felonies is not how you solve problems.
Oh, yes, we talked
That's
to
right.
them. We talked to them and let them know, because they come up on campus and want to play basketball, or they'll come up and want to drink some water, or my husband will have them out there and talk to them. So, yeah, we told them that that wasn't the right thing to do.
And the second thing, this is primary for Mr. Williams, because once again, he thinks that I've got a pocket full of money or something. But from age 7 through 12, I lived at 3034 Park Ridge in Sunset Acres and enjoyed every minute of it. So that's where I grew up.
You from Mayberry MD, man, them days over.
We had a great neighborhood then.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson, are you back on the?
Yes, sir.
One more, Commissioner, Ms. Law, go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say, we hear vandalism and all. I saw a big, beautiful, modern business on Southern Avenue that a guy broke into stealing copper. We read every day about people, if a house is sitting up vacant or being remodeled, folks will go there and they even get electrocuted trying to steal copper. So it's not the idea of, and those kids, they say those things. Sometimes, they just say it. But that vandalism probably wasn't all about those kids. That's about somebody, some mad or crackhead or something that's looking for copper or something that they could steal.
That's right.
It's not all about them kids. And it happens everywhere. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Law. Thank you for coming today. Todd, you can get your name right this time, so next item, please.
Next, we move to new business. A zoning case P1313 in regard to ordinance number 5370 of 2013, 10,900 block of North Ferry Road, property located on the east side of North Ferry Road, south of Hidden Oak Circle. S&L Development of Shreveport LLC, applicant, the Glen Retirement System owner. Request to rezone property from RA Residential Agricultural District to R1D Urban One-Family Resident District for proposed single-family residence or other uses.
Move to Thursday.
Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Thibodeau, seconded by Commissioner Williams. See no discussion. We can all vote now. Commissioner Lynch? Okay, that passes.
Zoning case appeal BAP 1212, property located at 3456 Villa Avenue on the west side of south side of Villa Avenue. Audra Jowers and Joey Corsentino applicants. Request to rezone property located at 3456. This was an applicant was given a 1-year extension, which has expired, and is requesting a second extension of 1 year with an update from the applicant 6 months into the extension. There will be a public hearing November 21st.
Mr. Chairman, I want to remove this from the agenda.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a motion by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Escaday to remove this from the agenda. All those in favor?
Thank you.
All right. And did you see that pass?
Passes.
Okay. All right, passes. Next item.
Authorize the introduction of ordinance number 5371 of 2013, declaring certain adjudicated properties to be surplus, and authorize the parish administrator or designee to sell parish's tax interest.
Move for Thursday. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Epperson, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. All vote at this time. That passes.
Authorize resolution number 68 of 2013, canvassing the returns and declaring the results of special election held in Caddo Parish on Saturday, October 19, 2013. Authorize the incurring of debt and issuance of bonds therein.
Moved by Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Escaday. All the vote at this time. That passes.
Authorize resolution number 69, canvassing the returns and declaring certain results of special election on October 19th. Vote upon adoption of amendments to the Home Rule Charter.
Move Thursday.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Bowman. Vote at this time. It passes.
Authorize resolution number 70, giving written public notice of the regularly scheduled meetings of the Caddo Parish Commission for the calendar year 2014.
So moved Thursday.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Williams, seconded by Commissioner Lynn. Please vote. Oh, to have a discussion. Commissioner Epperson?
Have we taken into consideration, our conference dates next year we have?
They did.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Nothing further, please vote. And that passes.
Authorize a resolution in recognition for Mr. Wilbert Winans, motocross champion,
So
son of
moved for,
Michigan.
Thursday.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Williams, seconded by
Yeah.
Commissioner Epperson. Please vote. And that passes.
Authorize a resolution in recognition for Mr. Joe Solomons, Industrial Development Board member.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Escaday, seconded by Commissioner Williams.
Yes, what's the recognition for?
Serving, he's resigned.
He's
I mean,
resigned?
yes, ma'am. Been on there a long time.
Thank you.
Please vote. And that passes.
Next, we've provided you with the end of the year appointments. Final confirmation will be December the 5th, 2013.
Recommend move for Thursday.
Do we need to? Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Epperson and seconded by Commissioner Williams to move this to Thursday.
To December 5th. It moves
Keep it to December 5th.
All of them, even the youth planet, children, board and all that, everything.
Have one, hang on.
Change
Hang on one
Thursday.
second. We got, if you want to speak, please press the button. Commissioner Johnson?
I was going to ask a question about the Children and Youth Planning Board. Is that still an active board, or is that some ad hoc, or what is it? What's still active? The Youth Planning Board?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's still me.
Yeah, I want it.
Okay, because we need to change some names, because Dr. Dawkins is gone. Okay.
He never came anyway.
Yeah, he sent somebody.
That's true.
Yeah,
I want to make that appointment.
Okay.
Commissioner Williams, has your question been answered? Yes. Okay. All right, all those in favor, please vote.
That's it.
And that passes. Commissioner Thibodeau, I don't see you on the board yet. All right, you're on board. That passes.
Next, we have consent agenda.
Adjourn.
We're done.
All right.